Bitcoin crashed and burned, and so did Ethereum. So I wanted to go over this article that is titled The Crypto Collapse, and here's what's behind Bitcoin's sudden drop. Now, some of you may not be aware of this, but some of you might. And Bitcoin and Ethereum both basically crashed for about 30 to 40% in a matter of pretty much seconds. Like, it was pretty insane today. And it got so bad that a lot of crypto apps actually stopped functioning. Like, there was that much volatility. But let's get into it. So the dramatic pullback in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies comes as a flurry of negative headlines and catalysts from Tesla CEO Elon Musk to a new round of regulations by the Chinese government have hit an asset sector that has been characterized by extreme volatility since it was created. The flagship cryptocurrency fell to more than 3-month lows on Wednesday, dropping to about $30,000 at one point for a pullback of more than 30% and continuing a week of selling in the crypto space. Ether, the main coin for the Ethereum blockchain network, was also down sharply and broke below $2,000 at one point, a more than 40% drop in less than 24 hours. And as you can see from this chart, this drop from Ethereum is just disgusting, right? Like, they nearly dropped 50%. Like, it is insane. So the recent slide is a reversal from the dramatic rise that started in the second half of the last year, and the price of Bitcoin is still up more than 200% since September. The product of a dramatic bull rally sparked in part by hedge fund managers, banks, and other companies appearing to embrace cryptocurrency. A lot more people own crypto, and crypto has seeped into pockets all over our society, and you had a confluence of events. A combination of tax day, Elon Musk tweets, whatnot, where you started breaking down the positivity in the price action, and now we've got a liquidation event. Longtime Bitcoin bull Mike Novogratz said Wednesday on CNBC's Squawk Box. So part of the reason for Bitcoin's weakness seems to be at least a temporary reversal in the theory of broader acceptance for cryptocurrency. Earlier this year, Musk announced he was buying more than $1 billion of it for his automaker's balance sheet, and then several payment firms announced they were upgrading their capabilities for more crypto actions, and major Wall Street banks began working on crypto trading teams for their clients. Coinbase, a cryptocurrency exchange company, went public through a direct listing in mid-April. And as you can see, for the most part, Bitcoin has just had a crazy rise. I mean, going from $30,000 in January 1st all the way up to almost $70,000 in the mid of April, and then just drastically crashing. However, Musk announced last week that Tesla would no longer accept Bitcoin as payment, citing environmental concerns. Now, he did suggest on Wednesday that Tesla is not selling its existing Bitcoin holding, and using emojis on Twitter to say the company has diamond hands. And Coinbase, which surged above $400 shortly after its first trade on April 14th, quickly gave up those gains. It was down near $220 per share on Wednesday morning. Its direct listing date is also the day of Bitcoin's most recent all-time high, and additionally, a new report from JP Morgan said that based on futures contracts, institutional investors appear to be moving away from Bitcoin and back to gold. Bitcoin is often touted as a potential replacement for the traditional metal as a store of value. So the weakness is not isolated in crypto, suggesting that the moves could be part of a larger rotation by investors away from more speculative trades. Tech and growth stocks, many of which outperformed the broader market dramatically during the coronavirus pandemic, have also struggled in recent weeks. The ARK Innovation ETF, a fund of high-growth stocks led by star fund manager Cathie Wood, is down more than 30% from its February highs. And as of Wednesday morning, this tech-heavy Nasdaq composite has fallen 6.9% from its most recent closing high on April 26. And the small-cap Russell 2000 is down 5.6% over the same period. Now, the declines have also coincided with the delayed deadline for tax payments, which could have caused selling pressure as investors looked for cash to pay off capital gains tax liabilities. Now, there's also Bitcoin and related assets have also come under increased scrutiny from regulators around the world as they have grown into a bigger part of the financial markets. Now, we believe government crackdown on cryptocurrencies can trigger another crypto winter and reduced trading activity. Harsher crackdown on crypto is possible in many developing countries which may view crypto as a threat to their fiat currencies and monetary system. Bernstein's Harshita Rath said in a note Tuesday. China, which is developing its own government-run cryptocurrency, reasserted its rules against other digital currencies on Tuesday, banning financial companies from providing services for crypto trading. And in the U.S., newly appointed Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler said earlier this month that he thought regulators should be technology neutral, but more consumer protection is needed in crypto markets. The rise of Dogecoin, which was started purely as a joke before gaining wider popularity with the help of Musk, could also have hurt the overall credibility of the crypto market. Some of the moves in the smaller or less developed coins suggest that the crypto bull market was tied to the rise of speculative day trading in stocks instead of the increased institutional interest. Other less serious cryptocurrencies have also seen increased interest in recent weeks, and on Monday, Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy announced that he purchased $40,000 of a cryptocurrency called SafeMoon, which he described as a poop coin. It's early if it is a Ponzi. Get in on the ground floor, Portnoy said in a video posted on Twitter. So I thought this article was pretty fair in the situation because here's the thing, right? This kind of crash with Bitcoin, which, by the way, if you don't know, it did crash heavily, but it also rebounded to about it basically, came back up like 30 to 40% as well. So the amount of money that is changing hands is pretty insane, and the reasons for it is actually interesting when you really think about it, right? Because you got to think about it, right? There's a lot of people who ended up getting into Bitcoin under $10,000 because they knew that Bitcoin had a potential future, right? Because, after Bitcoin went from, like $2,000 all the way up to like $20,000, and then it crashed at $20,000 down to, I think, like $3,000 or $5,000. There's a lot of people that believed in Bitcoin but just didn't like the price of $20,000. So there was a lot of people that, filled up the boat $10,000 and under, $20,000 and under, right? Which meant that as soon as they saw any weakness in Bitcoin, right, which was basically right about here, they saw this big weakness in Bitcoin, and they're like, you know what? I made so much money from holding Bitcoin. I'm just so tired of dealing with all the emotions when it comes to holding this cryptocurrency. I just want to take my profits. I don't care if I even, miss out on future profits. I just want to take profits right now. So there's a lot of people that ended up just dumping everything that they had, completely dumping everything they had, which caused it to go down to, 37,000, even lower as well. It got really low. And that's the reason. Same thing with Ethereum as well. It's there's a lot of people that bought it very low earlier this year, and they're basically probably just super sick of dealing with cryptocurrency, dealing with all the fluctuations, getting emotional about it, potentially becoming millionaires or non-millionaires in the span of a couple hours every day. And that just basically caused this thing to crash pretty heavily. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that thought, okay, this $60,000 price, the $50,000 price is too expensive to get into Bitcoin. But they were perfectly happy with spending mid-$30,000 to $40,000 to get into Bitcoin. Because there's a lot of people who believe that Bitcoin will at minimum get to $100,000, right? And then, there's a lot of people who are super bullish and think that it's going to go to $1 million, right? But let's just use 100,000. There's going to be way more people thinking that, I would much rather get into Bitcoin at $30,000 because I expect it to go to $100,000, which means that's a $70,000 profit, compared to someone who might be spending $60,000 or $70,000 for a final price of like $100,000. That's only a $30,000 profit. Both are pretty good, but people view that as just like a too rich of a price to pay to get into Bitcoin. But mid 30s, a lot of people are like, oh, this is a deal because Bitcoin's already reached almost $70,000, right? And so there was just a huge amount of money that just flushed and just got shoved straight into the crypto market, specifically Bitcoin, which rebounded this thing instantaneously within like the span of like an hour or 2 hours. I believe like $400 billion traded hands, both out and into the cryptocurrency. So it's pretty insane when you really think about it as to what's really going on with this, because there's so many bullish people in this for various reasons that even if this were to crash, there's going to be so much people coming in after a certain point because like, oh, this is a perfect deal. I'm totally willing to spend this amount of money to get into it there, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Personally, I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin. I do believe Bitcoin will probably eventually get to $1 million. I'm still bullish in the sense that I think Bitcoin will probably actually get to $100,000 by the end of this year. And if it does get to $100,000 by the end of this year, it most likely will get to $1 million within the next 10 years. But, that's my thoughts on it. Now, for all the other cryptocurrencies, that's really up to you, but I'm just specifically talking about Bitcoin here. And feel free to give your thoughts if you ended up stumbling onto this, because, there's also another problem that I see as well. Because, there's, like I said, a lot of people did end up taking a lot of profits still, but there's also people who get into cryptocurrency or get into investing purely to try to make quick cash, right? And so if some of those people that were selling here were probably super scared and probably lost fortunes. There's probably people who lost like their life savings in this like span of time. In less than like 4 hours, they probably lost their whole life savings just because they're an emotional trader. Not even an investor, they're just emotional traders. And they thought they could make it big and rich, and they ended up just selling at the low, right? They might have bought it like right here to the point of about 58,000 and then just sold everything at 37,000 and probably lost almost everything. So it's pretty interesting to see what's going to happen in the crypto markets. I bet there's going to be way more volatility throughout this year, but I'm still pretty bullish. Feel free to give your thoughts.